being hoping in the Holy Virgin Mary.
Y acabo. Termino.
That's all.
Es mejor
It's better.
estar solo
Being alone, being lonely
con la verdad
with the truth,
que es Dios, la verdad verdadera,
the truth of God,
que no ser muchos
than to be
Yes.
very
A lot of
a lot
y estar en la mentira y en el error.
in the lies and the
Error.
yes.
Que Dios os bendiga mucho a todos siempre y pedid por este pobre cura.
May God bless us always
Que recen.
and may we pray.
Yo me acuerdo en España, recuerdo
He remembers in Spain
la Santa Misa
in the Holy Mass
por los valientes fieles
the
Valiant, faithful.
Valiant is
de las catacumbas
of the catacombs.
de Gran Bretaña.
No longer great.
We will remember.
Justo.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then I'd actually know that I just saw this just this last 3 weeks visiting new priests
Gregory,
Society.
famoso Gregory.
and to see very clearly without any doubt after meeting now in the last 2 years about 120 priests, most society priests, especially the young ones, it is without doubt that Father just said in 2 words, the new SSPX is modernist. That's just a fact. And I've got now much evidence of the modernism of the society. You can translate for Father afterwards, right?
Tiene más evidencia, sí,
Of the society.
Serenidad.
In the last 2 weeks,
en los últimos 2
met 2 young priests who ordained the last 4 years. In the last 4 years. And these priests showed to me the teaching of the seminary, which is pure modernism.
In what country now?
In the U.S.
Dos jóvenes sacerdotes en los últimos 4 años enseña a él la enseñanza en la seminaria en Estados Unidos, el modernismo,
The pure modernism.
puro modernismo.
Confirming. Now the modernism in its own
En el cron-
goes back many years before. At least
Muchos
20
años
years.
pasaron.
Modernism in the U.S., a seminary, is more recent.
Modernismo en el seminario ahora en Estados Unidos es más ahora,
Yeah,
¿no?
after they got rid of Bishop Williamson.
Cuando echan al obispo Williamson está más evidente que es modernista.
And then that was in 2003.
2003.
Whereas in the 1990s, already since the death of Archbishop Lefebvre, the modernism deeply entered into Icon. A couple of examples this last 2 weeks.
Ejemplos.
The priests confirmed, 2 young priests confirmed to me what they were taught in the seminary.
Esos dos sacerdotes confirmaron con él que recibió la enseñanza en Winona.
That is that Vatican II can be fixed. Vatican II can be repaired. They learned it in this way. The Council of Constance, the Council of Basel, and other councils, they said, had to be fixed. Not every part of the council was accepted by the Pope in the past.
Los concilios de Basel y
And Constance,
Constanz y otros concilios.
the 2 councils of the church, councils of about 1400. And therefore, Vatican II can also be fixed.
entonces dicen también puede arreglar Vaticano II también como el concilio de Basel
These
y Constanza.
3 different priests told me there are beautiful teachings in Vatican II.
Dicen son enseñanzas preciosas en Vaticano II.
All right, very beautiful passages, like in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Okay, and so there are beautiful passages that we fully accept. Then there are ambiguous passages which we accept in the light of tradition.
Hay partes que tratan en la ¿cómo se dice? La luz de tradición.
other passages that may have to go.
Otras igual tienen que echar.
They do not use the word error
No utilizan la palabra
or
error
heresy.
o error.
Heresia.
Yeah, for instance, 2 priests 2 weeks ago, I had a young seminarian with me, of our seminary in Kentucky, and the Father Graves and Father Deister, 2 young priests, were standing there in Post Falls. Yeah, just 2 young priests. And they said, Anthony, close your ears. and he turned to me and said, Vatican II is bullshit.
El dicho el seminario cerrar los ojos, orejas.
Yes.
Pero Vaticano II es mierda.
Bullshit. Caca. Okay.
International caca.
They used to say in America, they say peanut butter. Caca you ate. Right? You know, cacahuate is peanut butter. But in any case, so they said, but then I noticed they say the word bullshit, crap, but crap does not mean evil. Does not mean evil.
Do you want to translate?
Yeah, bullshit is very good for growing things.
Dice,
It's a necessary thing
estos
that has to go in our
sacerdotes de la
bodies,
fraternidad
most
dice, Vaticano II es mierda, pero la mierda no es malo,
Yeah.
porque...
And they are using this term to give an impression. For instance, you might say to the wife, that breakfast was crap. But it doesn't mean it was poison.
Yeah, can you translate?
Que indica es basura, es mierda, pero no es veneno.
So when they use this terminology,
Entonces ese
the
terminología
purpose is to make you think they still mean there's error in the council. So they'll say, Vatican II is crap. Right? They'll say,
Entonces Vaticano II es mierda, pero no es...
you then get the impression
But they
that
don't.
they believe Vatican II is evil.
So you think they've said Vatican II is heresy, but they haven't actually said that.
But they don't say it.
Piensas que ellos están
Furthermore, they admit the council can be repaired. I spoke to priests 2 years ago, the young priests. And the young priest told me 2 years ago, like Father Thomas Aquinas, Father Elias, young Benedictine priest, trained by Father LaRue in the new seminary. I said to Father Thomas Aquinas, so if you say that Council of Constance, Council of Basel can be fixed, then you also mean that Vatican II can be fixed. And he said, I'm not saying that I'm saying that, and I'm not saying that I'm not saying that.
Oh, when you say yes,
No,
yes, yes.
Sí, sí, no, no.
No, sí, no, sí, no. Sí, no, no, sí. Sí, no, no, sí, no, no, sí.
How do you say perhaps in Latin? Yeah.
Forsitan.
Forsitan.
Yeah. You know. So that they have a very deep learning, and they have learned a new language. They have a new language. Father Hugo and I would sometimes meet them in the airports and speak with them. We visit many of them as we can. And it's like speaking to someone from a different religion. For instance, one of the young priests, again, just last 2 weeks, the problem with Vatican II is that it requires a hermeneutic to understand the hermeneutic of the council.
That is Moses.
Good luck translating that one. It requires an interpretation. It requires an interpretation to understand the interpretation
That's what
of
the
the
priest
council.
said.
Whereas, in a normal council, say Vatican I or the Council of Trent, the council itself is an interpretation. That's what he says. This is all wrong, by the way. I'm just repeating what he's saying. The council's interpretation. So we were given the example earlier today. See that no smoking? No smoking. Now, no smoking means, what does it mean? That's what it means. Now, supposing you say that's a hermeneutic, that means interpretation. In America, for instance, no smoking could mean no smoking past me in your car. You know, you have the expression, you do have the expression, right? He smoked past me. In other words, the tailpipe smoke. So when it comes past you, we call it smoking. I'm going to smoke you, right?
Okay.
You use that expression. Right, we say it, yeah, I want to smoke you, man. So to smoke someone means to get the tailpipe smoke into their nose, right? So when you smoke past someone, it's using that expression with another meaning. That's interpretation. No smoking doesn't mean no smoking past me in your car. It means no smoking.
Sí.
Now they say that sounds complicated. It's just modernism. That's all it is. It's just pure modernism. Modernists teach that no word means what it says. Every word must be interpreted. Yeah, for instance, when you use the word smoke, well, it depends on the context.
Dice los sacerdotes de la fraternidad hoy
Smoke might be one thing in one country.
que los
in another
parábolas
country.
no
In one
hay
culture, smoke might
una
be that, in
verdad,
this
pero
culture, smoke
una
might be
parábola.
that. So they're
Sí.
teaching the seminarians about nuance. Father Thiemann, who gave a talk against the resistance, said, "Those who love the truth love nuance." It's in his talk. It's beautiful.
Nuance? I don't know.
Nuance.
Nuance.
Nuance. I think it's the same word.
We're French, therefore.
Yeah, it's the same word. Same word.
Nuance.
So,
Yeah, oui, nuance.
which means nuance means not really distinction.
It's like subtlety, like
It
Bishop
means,
Kelly.
it means like you call jelly, right?
Yeah.
It means nuance, you know.
Subtlety.
It moves around. It's not a rock.
Cambio.
And it's even the word subtle is too clear. You know, even the word subtle is too clear. It means underneath. It means nuance can mean anything. They deliberately use those kinds of words. Now they're teaching the seminarians. And they're teaching them by the education and by the style of living in the seminary. For instance, it's a communist seminary. Cone's been that way for many years, and United States Seminary has now become that way. You must be sure that you laugh when the superior laughs. Right? You react according to him. You watch him. You learn how to change yourself, to not be yourself, and not live according to what's right, but according to what he expects. If you don't do that, you don't survive. You also learn in the seminary, if you see another seminarian who is not living according to the spirit of the rector, you can go to the rector and you can turn him in. He will then be expelled without being told the reason for his expulsion. And you will become elevated. These are principles of developing communists.
Yeah.
It isn't sufficient to give a modernist education. That is, to give them unclear thinking, which is what they do. They don't use the same terms that we use. Yes, no, see, no, no. Speaking to Father Gardner, our young priest, and the old Father Luke, the other one, another young priest, he says, the faithful need a certain clarity. Translation, faithful are stupid, they need simple.
Huh? What?
But the priest must go deeper. Translation, he has a different understanding. So you tell one thing to the faithful, you have another understanding yourself, and you're trying to secretly bring the faithful from one knowledge to another knowledge. This is called the satanic.
Secret knowledge as well.
To cut it.
It's how Satanists teach.
Because like Freemasons.
Well, example, if you, for instance, I heard a talk once of a Satanist priest who converted, became Protestant, not Catholic. But he was a satanic priest from one of the highest families. His family's been a satanic priest family from England, of course. He was in America, but it's English family, and they have been Satanists for more than 1,000 years.
Oh God.
It's a priest family that's ancient. Okay, at least more than 1,000 years his family has been satanic. He knew he was a Satanist even when he was a 5-year-old boy. He knew he belonged to a satanic family. And so, but his father told him, yes, we are Satanists. People think we're bad. We're not. We actually do a lot of good things. And they think we worship Satan. We don't. We worship many wonderful spirits. And he believed him because that's what his father said. You continue to get all that? His father told him.
Satanistas, de familia de 1000 años, que el padre dice al hijo, no, somos satanistas, pero somos buenos, hacemos cosas bien, pero adoramos a the spirits.
He knew that he was a Satanist, but his father told him, we Satanists receive a bad name. We're actually good people. We don't worship Satan. Yeah. We worship many spirits, and many of them are very good. Then when he was 9 years old, he learned that everything he learned when he was 5 was a lie. And then he learned that the truth is there are a few spirits, and some are good, and some are bad. And Satanists know both. As he got older, he learned that was also a lie. And he learned the truth again, which is that there's only a few spirits, and the chief of them is called Lucifer. And then he learned later on that that's also a lie. And Lucifer is God. Later on, he learned that's also a lie. God is God, and Lucifer is the chief angel against God. And he said by the time he turned 18, lying was so much in his blood that he could not communicate without lying. So he was trained truth. He learned the truth was a lie. He trained another truth, which he learned was also a lie. He learned another truth that was also a lie, so that he knew how to communicate and lie to absolute perfection. This is what they're doing at this society. They are teaching them through lies. And they don't even realize it. See, they're at the lower stage. And they don't realize that they're actually in the same kingdom that the Masons are in. They're just at a lower stage. And that is why, what Father just said in 2 words, it's modernism, and we have to resist them. It's very simple, really. They are using complex words, and they're using labels rather than truth. We have to stand on the truth, and that's the true enemy of this modernist movement in the society. And also, I just finished a visit to our resistance faithful in Asia. I just finished a few weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago. And in those 6 weeks in Asia, I started here. I began here, Ireland, and then London, and then down to France for the meeting in France, and then to Malaysia and the Philippines. But visited more than 1,300 of our faithful. And you can. And there are many, many that are following us who don't even go to our Mass. They just want the truth. One of them is going to be coming to the seminary to be a brother, or even possibly maybe a priest, in the next 2 weeks. His first Latin Mass he ever went to was 3 weeks ago, on an Ignatian retreat in Idaho. He'd been following the resistance with his father, he's an American Indian, following the resistance with his father for the last year and a half. Of course, they're baptized Catholics, but the sort of, And they just want the truth. They just want the truth. Other Novus Ordo Catholics in other places also said, we just want the truth. We don't want halfway. A couple of priests in India, coming from the Novus Ordo, they want to join us, and not the Fraternity of St. Peter, and not the mainstream of Society of St. Pius X. Because they want to go to the truth. If they're going to leave the lie, they might as well go to the truth rather than to another lie. We have, I know that what the bishop made a comment about 2 months ago or a month ago about the resistance is small and so on and not growing.
It was in a late on comments.
Just a few weeks ago, that's actually not true. In September the 16th, 2012, we had our first Mass of the Resistance, Father Giselle and myself, in the Philippines, in Manila.
En septiembre de 2012, el padre y padre Giselle
We had 2 priests, 2 masses, and 1 faithful.
Dos meses.
Right.
What did you
2
say?
priests, 2 masses, 1 faithful.
2 years ago.
September 16, 2012.
Dos meses y yeah.
Right? Now we have more than 3,000, about 3,000 faithful. And in less than 2 years. Now it's more than 2 years now because it's September the 28th. So it's 2 years and a week. And we have about 80 places where we're going to say the Mass. And more calls every day. Priests have also come to join. And many are only saying Mass in their own places, but it's really quite simple. They want to stand for the truth against Marxism. The strength of Archbishop Lefebvre and the SSPX was only the truth. That's it. We've always been idiots, and we've always done everything wrong. Always. Like, Father, how
But
many
the
years
strength
have you...
was the truth.
What?
The strength was the
The truth
truth.
is only the truth.
La
We
fuerza
will
de
grow
Monseñor Lefebvre era solo la verdad.
Yeah.
Solo la verdad.
Because you've known the society for some time, Father. You've been in the society or the society...
Sí, he trabajado con la hermana de San Pierre. ¿Cuántos? Muchos años.
En Argentina.
En
In
Argentina.
Argentina. And how many years in Argentina?
¿Cuántos años?
No, no,
2 años en Argentina.
But you knew of us before, though.
Pero conocen ellos antes, ¿no?
sí, conocía gente, pero no estaba con ellos.
¿Y dónde estabas?
Pues,
¿En España o...?
escribiendo el libro, estaba yo
Ah,
solito.
vale, vale.
Sí, estaba yo solo.
What does that mean?
¿Estás en un libro?
No, antes, me refiero.
Ajá.
Que estaba escribiendo un libro, etcétera, y estaba yo solo.
Ah, este
No.
libro...
Luego cuando acabé
Sí,
los
sí.
libros me fui a la fraternidad. Y ya se estropeó la fraternidad y me salí.
Right, he was on his own, he was writing a book, and then he went to, so past the 10th, into Argentina, and then he came out when it all changed.
And how many years now you've been saying the Latin Mass in
¿Cuántos años has estado dando la misa tridentina?
Yo ya por lo menos 12 años, 14.
12.
A mí me ordenó un obispo muy santo de España, Guerra Campos,
Guerra Campos,
que
the
era
last bishop
el
of
de
Spain.
Febre español.
He was
Sí,
the
pero
Archbishop
no,
of
pero está en el modernismo.
Yeah.
Y por si
He was
acaso,
a bit trapped.
y por si acaso,
He supported Archbishop Lefebvre, but didn't go any much further.
luego,
Right.
por si acaso me ordenó otra vez Monseñor Williamson.
Yeah, he was been also conditionally ordained by
Okay,
Bishop
very
Wilson also.
Because I know that many priests, I know one of the things that they do, I don't know if they did it with Father, one thing they do with the Novus Ordo I've noticed, the good priests, they keep them very busy,
Yes.
so there's like no time to think.
Yes.
Did they do that?
Es un hábito los obispos con los padres de Novus Ordo, los conservadores, que ponen mucho trabajo para ellos. Para siempre trabajar,
Porque
para
no
pensar.
pensar.
Sí, puede ser, sí.
Para no
So
mueres
it could
uno.
be
Mucho trabajo y los apartan.
Yeah, and they push you aside. Yeah. Ellos dan todo el trabajo a ti y...
El colegio de la comunidad de San Martín.
Saint Martin.
San Martín son modernistas, pero no son... son un poco más tradicionales, pero aceptan practicar los dos. Y Pues es raro en sí, pero me parece que hay sacerdotes dentro de ellos. No sé si son sacerdotes, pero parecen buenas personas.
They don't have all that.
La verdad.
Yeah,
Greg.
I got part of it, but
What did you say?
the Vatican II and
No, papá español.
So sorry.
part of it, a little bit.
There's a community in France called the Community of St. Martin,
Right.
which is sort of conservative.
Oh, I know of them, yeah. But they say the new mass, though, don't they?
They do.
Traditional way.
Yes,
Estuve
yes.
cerca del seminario.
As well as my husband says, you don't know if they are made of meat.
Yes, yes, yes. I think some of them, they went to America. There's some of them in America, I believe.
And well, there is one of them is a bishop in Bayonne,
Mm-hmm.
and he does seem to be a good sort of bishop, but he's not necessarily a real bishop, sacred bishop.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's difficult to. They seem to have some good sort of people.
Yes, I believe they're unapproved, but they say the new mass, right?
Yes, they say the mass.
Yes, but I think they're unapproved.
No, they are approved. I think they were founded in Genoa, but possibly by Syria.
And
Way
some
back
try
when.
to say
But they're not very.
the
Not very
real mass.
Because you see, the problem is, what's happening is, supposing you are the devil and you need to destroy Catholic tradition, the way to do it is slowly.
Yes.
You must take the people slowly away from the truth. And that's what they have done. We are in the stage where it is already finished. Consummatum est. It's consummated, it's finished.
Or else put them in anger and tell them it is not enough, and that's what it is.
Well, look at this meeting with the Pope last week on September the 21st. Nobody cares. I mean, with Cardinal Mueller. No one cares. And in that meeting, the official report of the Society of St. Pius X is that Vatican II was mentioned, and we're concerned about the differences that still remain. You can translate that. I'm sure this was the same in the Spanish.
There were differences in translations, I noticed. In French and English there were quite a few differences.
Anyway, there was also a big difference between what the Vatican reported and what
No, you're
the
talking about two separate
society
reports.
said.
You're talking about the two separate reports. The Society report,
Society says.
the Society report leaves out parts of it. I'm talking about the SSPX report, which leaves out elements that Tornelli had. But the Society report says Vatican II was mentioned, and they discussed the differences that still remain.
So in other words, that is compromised. And it's about
If this was said to Archbishop Lefebvre, you would be dead in about 3 seconds. Approximately. Because he's older and he couldn't move that fast. Instant death. And so, but again, Vatican II was mentioned. You know, remember the book Spiritual Journey? In 1991, Archbishop Lefebvre wrote a book, Spiritual Journey. I remember before he wrote the book, he said, I'm retired now. The young bishops, because remember, consecrated in 88, the young bishops can do all the work, and I'm just going to write a spiritual book. I'm tired of fighting. That's what he said. And then he wrote his book, The Spiritual Journey. And it said, you know, God is good and modernists are straight from hell. Every page has anti-Vatican II on it. He had no intention to mention Vatican II. He just couldn't help it. It was in his blood. He was a warrior. I remember, in fact, some of the strongest quotes against the council are in The Spiritual Journey. His only intention was to write a spiritual work to help give us a spiritual boost to the priest of the Society of St. Pius X before he dies. And every page is Vatican II is straight from hell, the new Mass is straight from hell, the modernists are straight from hell, and you got to be good. And Vatican II is straight from hell, and modernism is straight from hell, and it's even better when you're more than good. And Vatican II is straight from hell, and that's it. That's every page of the spiritual journey. So he was a warrior, and he could not stop fighting even when he was retiring. He was like the old, in Kentucky we have the old man sitting on the rocking chair in the porch with his shotgun. And he rocks back and forth, and when you come and visit,
El Kiri dirá en este tiempo,
Welcome.
cuando está escribiendo el
You
libro.
can't help it.
Y él dice, no, no,
He couldn't help it.
luchando.
He's a warrior. He only knew how to fight.
Eso lo sabías.
And now we have wimps in the society.
Y ahora tenemos
Complete wimps.
payasos y...
And so that and they're trained that way. Those that show any sense of leadership, any sense of strength, they are all removed.
Isn't it as soon as in the sisters' schools? Because we have noted that the sisters had a spirit of really taking, how to say, trying to impose their, not only their views, their personality on children.
Oh yes, this is a big problem in a place called, what's the name of that place? France. It's de France. In the land of the frog. How do you say it? I can never pronounce that word.
And boys
Frog.
are trained girlish.
How do you say frog? What?
And frog is
I can't pronounce it, but anyway, frog. In the frog. In the land of the frog, this is a problem. Ever since Baius and Jansenius 300 years ago.
all right.
What happened was, it has always been a negative strain in the SSPX. Archbishop Lefebvre never had it, but many others did. And that is, all that it is, Calvinism and Protestantism baptized. So if you take the Calvinist thinking, and then you pull out the heresy, and leave the spirit, that's what happened.
Yes.
What's the effect of that?
The effect of that is all the sisters of tradition. The Dominicans, the SSPX sisters. Oh yeah, they're kind of the worst. What they do is you translate that you must, for instance, what does it mean to be spiritual? To be spiritual means to be balanced. What does it mean to be balanced? Fold your hands like this. Because if you fold your hands like that, you're an extremist and you're not balanced. But if you go like this, you're a slob and you're not balanced. So if you go like that, that's okay, and that's okay. So a material looking at the spiritual life, that's one of the aspects. Take the spiritual things and make them material. So spiritual, laxist, extremist. Yes, it does. That's the effect of it, especially non-frogs. When a non-frog is trying to imitate a frog, it's disgusting. Right? And that's the effect on non-frogs especially.
Can I just interrupt very quick to ask who wants tea and who wants coffee? We've
Take
got food as well. Tea.
Because in the coffee is unbearable.
Okay.
Is it
Tea with
unbearable?
the sugar.
Okay. Right. Hands up for tea then.
Okay,
1, 2,
baby
3,
Ken's
4,
tea,
5,
honey.
6, 7.
Now-
I would have put gin in it.
So, but it's a very deep problem. That's why, for instance, you can have the Franciscan convent, the Dominican convent, the SSPX convent, the Carmelites. Different habits. They're identical to each other. Carmelites, big problem.
So discipline and rules just for sake of it.
That's right. But then that's one aspect. Make the spiritual material is one of the principles. The other is a very important principle, which is the principle of Protestantism. Nature is evil.
Yes.
Now, you can't say nature is evil because that's a heresy. So what you say then is, nature is not evil, it's only so inclined to evil that it might as well be evil. And that's where the French thing gets in there. The
That's
Jansenism.
Jansenist,
It's
yes.
Jansenism, but Jansenism is it's deep theology.
How does that manifest itself?
That manifests itself if you have any happiness or pleasure. This is bad. For instance, supposing your superior tells you that I command you to play football for the next 2 hours. and you love football. You should feel guilty. Why? Because you're supposed to hate football. If the superior asks you to play football, in order to be holy, you must hate football and play it only out of obedience.
Oh, right. This is like Sister Mary. Oh, is that on?
It is on, yeah. It's like...
Turn it off a bit.
No, it just... Yeah, it's like
Right.
a sister.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, it's just like a sister about the Marmite.
Yeah,
I'm going to take it for my Lent then, because it doesn't taste good. And
Yeah. So an example, the example of eating fish on Friday, right?
Yeah.
Some people say, well, I like fish. So therefore, I hate meat and I like fish. So for me, to do penance equals to eat a hamburger on Friday. But you see, this is a penance of humanity, and it's a sign, an external sign, that we are respecting the crucifixion of Christ.
Yeah.
So if you like fish, then you should be happy on Friday. And if you hate fish, you should also be happy on Friday. And in fact, they deny the principle of Aristotle. Aristotle says, the virtuous man is not the man who does virtuous things. The virtuous man is not the man who does virtuous things, like for instance, the virtuous man is the man who does virtuous things because he likes to. You acquire virtue when you do it easily. A good example of virtue is Father Iglesias with cigarettes.
He was good at that.
That's virtue.
I guess it's too far, maybe.
Not just to do well, but to like to do well. That's virtue. Virtue means power, inclination inside of you. The act of virtue, you may do an act of virtue, like for instance the fox. Okay, here we'll just take the whole thing. Okay. The fox, we give off the example of the fox. The fox sees a birdie inside of a pile of cow dung. The fox pulls the birdie out of the pile. It's a very virtuous act. The fox cleans the birdie. This is even more virtuous. And then the fox eats the birdie. Why did the fox take the birdie out of the cow? What's the reason? Because he wanted breakfast. Therefore, the actual act was evil. He did a good act, and that act became evil because he did it because he desired breakfast. Hence, the act was a sin. The virtuous act is to do a good act for a good reason, number one, and it becomes a virtue when you do it happily and naturally. When you see, Jansenism teaches it should never be natural. It should always be difficult. You see?
So you don't have to enjoy life.
That's correct.
Because this is actually, our entire society is written with this idea.
Well, sensually delicious.
Life must not be a lot enjoyable. So what happens in society is we go from Calvinism to downright
lechery.
Lechery, yes. There's no in between. So you hold down your job during the being very, very Calvinist and being abstemious. And then in the summer you go to Ibiza, and you get drunk and born again.
Well, that's why there's an American talk, what do you call it, storyteller. And he's still alive. His name is Garrison Keillor in Minnesota. And he tells a story of, basically a Calvinist Lutheran town that doesn't exist,
Lake Wobegon.
Lake Wobegon. But he always says that Calvinists, Lutherans, need Las Vegas. Lutherans have to have Las Vegas. Because in the town, you have to act holy, you have to be proper, you have to be unhappy. In Las Vegas, you don't have a name, you don't know anybody, and you can party. And so you go to Las Vegas without a name, and you party, and you live it up. You come back to Lake Wobegon, and you're proper and pious. he says there's something about the Lutheran that he can't live without Las Vegas.
Yes.
And that's why it's a town in the middle of the desert, right? Why is it a town in the middle of the desert? Because it's everybody that goes there is not from there.
Yes.
And the people that live there, they never go to the casinos. If they go to the casino, they go to New Jersey. They leave Las Vegas and they go to another one. But then when they come back to Las Vegas, they're holy and they never go to the strip.
Well, Las Vegas is actually built by the mob, isn't it?
It's built by the mob, yes. The good guys, yes.
Casinos, yes.
Yes.
1944 it was built, isn't it?
I don't know the exact year, but I know that my ancestors built it and they did a good job. But the mob, and of course Jews. There's always Jews involved. You can never escape that. But the trouble is today that the faith truly is in danger, and also, like Father says, we really have to be ready to stand up without anyone beside us. That's the key. That's the key. That's what makes the Praetorian Guard the premier soldiers. Because they fight 100 men together and they kill thousands. But if there's 50 of them, they fight the same. And if there's 5 of them, they fight the same. And if there's 1 of them, he fights the same.
Yes.
So these are indestructible warriors. 1 of them left alive is enough to kill you, because they're not going to stop until they win or you're dead. They themselves are dead. And so we have to fight in that way. That's why St. Paul says we fight as one, not as one beating the air, but we fight with purpose. And that's what we have to have. You're living here or just traveling here?
Traveling.
We're living in
We're living
it's
100 miles from here, a little bit less than 100 miles.
Everybody is far away, but you're north though, I guess. Right?
Yes.
Right. Because I know it's hard, you know. Because right now there is a great.
There is coffee farming as well.
I take both. Yes, I'll just work on this. Never mind. No, I'll take it. Because it is a trouble now what's going on. Because in France, there has been a great campaign going on for many years. You have the liberal priests, extremely liberal priests, and they're in positions of authority. And they have been for many, many, many years. And, for instance, a couple of priests told me that the schools, for instance, have been slowly taken over by all the liberal priests over the last 20 years.
Really?
And they're all modernists now that run every single school of the SSPX in France now.
Even Domzon,
All of them.
with all Father Pino had done.
Well, Father Pino, of course, Father Pino, unfortunately, he has a little bit of the new thinking in himself as well. Part of the reason why I think he gave in to Sedevacantism. He's a Sedevacantist now.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He didn't know. Big
He
time.
is. The trouble is, I think it's because of the real reason for the increase in Sedevacantism now is not theological. We're in a battlefield. You stand behind the captain. The captain was Bishop Villay. And Bishop Villay betrayed the truth and collapsed.
Yes.
And then, what happened? The people flee the battlefield. What do they look for? Another commander.
Yes.
So they go to the Sedevacantists. It's at a time like this the Sedevacantists say, oh, we have hundreds of chapels. We have many priests. But in fact, they're all divided. Not only physically divided and hierarchically divided, they're theologically also divided.
Of course.
So
Just like French legitimists.
that's one of them. The problem is not legitimists. The problem is, what's the problem?
I am.
French.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry?
Yes, no, but the thing is,
Oh, yes. Thank you.
again, what happens is there's so many different levels
Yes.
This is an olive glove, homemade.
Let's do this.
I'll just take that plate.
My goodness. Very good.
This one is different. This is homemade.
Fruitcake, yeah.
No, this is an olive glove.
It's not fruit cake.
Can I try it as well?
So I mean, it's right now, for instance, the trouble with the resistance in France right now is that they haven't decided what they believe in. We have to stand for the same truth of the last 2,000 years. Archbishop Lefebvre, all he was like, you know, in the old days, in the battlefield, there was a flag carrier, and he would be shot. As he was falling down, another man would drop his rifle and take the flag. And only the bravest men took the flag, because obviously they can't shoot with the sword while they're doing it. When he was killed, as he was dying, he would hold the flag up. Another man would drop his rifle and take the flag. And all that Archbishop Lefebvre really was a flag bearer. So that when all these thousands of bishops who were holding the flag together all collapsed, he went and took on the flag. When he died, the 4 bishops took on the flag. Now that they've let go of the flag has to be taken by someone else. And the strength is in the holding on to that flag of the divine truth. And not in the one who carried it for a long time. Archbishop Lefebvre was simply one of those who held that flag. Tradidi quodet aceti. He held the flag and he handed down what he received. And that's what we have to do. The same. La même. How do you say it? La même chose.
And sacred canonists, of course, make the same error as the modernists.
That's right.
The founder, which is that the Mass of all time, we believe adhere to the fact that the Mass of all time cannot be changed. The sacred canonists removed from the canon the prayers of the Pope, who changed the Mass.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of true, but not really. That's not correct. I mean, that's not really the right. I mean, it's true that they're the same as the modernists, but they're same in a different way. They believe that the only way, this is the key principle, and it's pointed out by St. Pius X in Pascendi. The modernist is different from the subjectivist because he believes in objective truth. There's only one objective truth. But what's the difference? The objective truth is whatever I say.
Yes.
Not every I, only the expert. So you take subjectivism, which is truth is in you, truth is in you, truth is in you, truth is in you, and everybody has a different truth. That's impossible, of course. That's a temporary stage. The modernist says, okay, we know there's only one truth. We also know truth is in the individual. So which individual has the truth? The scientist, the psychiatrist, the mathematician. Now, take that error and baptize it. The Pope. Now, the only way that I can know the truth, I'll take some of that. The only way that I can know the truth is, the only way I can know the truth is by listening to what the Pope tells me the truth is. There's no other way. And so, that way, objective truth becomes subjective inside of the Pope. Now the Pope went bad. What do? 2 options. One, the bad becomes true. The other option is he ceases to be Pope. Both of the same theological foundation. My only connection to truth is the person of the Pope. That's why people say, do you know better than Bishop Fillet? Do you know better than the local bishop? Are you a theologian? Did you study theology? Yeah, when I was a little child, before my first communion, I learned in my first communion class that there are 7 sacraments. You're telling me there's 8. You're full of baloney. I learned that there were 3 persons in the Blessed Trinity and that they're really God. I learned that Jesus was truly in the Blessed Sacrament. As I learned theology. And if you tell me something different, you're wrong. I don't need the Pope to tell me that Jesus Christ is in the Blessed Sacrament. If he tells me something different, I tell the Pope he's wrong. That's all. Not that he's not the Pope. He's just wrong. Because truth does not depend on the person of the Pope. That's one of the heresies of modernism. I think Pfeiffer points out for Shindy. And so the objective truth becomes subjective. The subjective truth becomes objective. And that's why he says it's the synthesis of all heresies. It's not subjectivism. It's not subjectivism. It's subjectivism changed and perfected.
This is helped by the fact that a lot of Catholics always believed that the Pope is head of the Catholic Church, and Protestants can Catholics worship the Pope. Because American Catholics, you basically believe that American consensus is correct.
Right, and that was pointed out in the Alta Vendita. Was it discovered 1820?
Something like that, yeah.
In the Alta Vendita, the Masons said, we will destroy the Catholic Church by elevating obedience. Obedience is one of the moral virtues. Now you elevate it to the highest of virtues. Then, through obedience, you destroy. And it's also one Satanist, some true Satanists pointed this out to me. He said, one of them told me, he said, look, this couple Satanists told me how the Masons elevated obedience to the highest and then used it to destroy the Catholic Church. One Satanist told me a few years ago, he said, you Christians, you Catholics, you have a morality. You don't need rules. You have minimal rules are all you need because you have a principle. You must do good, you must avoid evil. You can translate. Right. You must do good and avoid evil. But Satanists, we don't have any morality. We can do anything. So therefore, there can only be order in Satanism only by rules. That's it. You must have a precise rule. And if anyone breaks the rule, then he gave an example. He said, supposing that 6 Satanists come in here with machine guns, and they really want to kill me. They won't do it. They won't do it. Because they can't do it unless they've been given an order to do it. And he said, what would happen? Supposing a Satanist came in here, and he shot me. He went back to the lodge. He said, I shot him. Did you get an order? No. They'll kill him. Why? Because if you can kill that man on your own, you can kill someone else on your own. Remember, Satanists don't love each other. They don't believe in brotherly love. They only have rules. They only have obedience, and they have nothing else. Whereas for us, obedience is just one of the moral virtues. Without obedience, you can still be good. But them, without obedience, they don't know what to do. And so, that's one reason why, as our world becomes more and more demonic, there come more and more rules. more and more laws.
And we're being told we're disobedient and we're the laity.
Right. You're being disobedient. And also, what's a great sin? Disobedience. I talked to Father Deister, young priest. He said, are you telling me? And he said just like this, Father, are you telling me that I should disobey my superior? I said, yes, of course. Any further questions, you idiot? Of course you got to disobey your superior. That's what we do. We're the SSPX. We're professional disobeyers. That's what we do.
It also becomes a problem, you know, among French legitimists. We have been used to be disobedient for 200 years, and now we are totally unable. We have a very nice king and the queen and princess. We are totally unable to do what he says. We always criticize him, and we are unable to do anything else.
Well, I mean, it's now maybe misunderstanding. I thought the legitimists were the ones who claimed that the Pope has the chair but not the use, right?
Yes.
Well, it's a Latin term. It's a dumb one too. What's it called? They have a Latin term for it, but
No, it's a royalist, she means.
oh, you mean not legitimist as regard to the king?
No, regarding the
Because
monarchy.
there's an opinion like that with regard to the Pope, which is that the Pope.
Sede-provationist, you mean?
Yeah, sede-provationist, but they have a Latin. Yeah, he has the see, but not the exercise.
They say he has an obex, which means he's materially the Pope, but not formally.
Right. What St. Robert Bellarmine says, his answer to that is, some make a distinction between the sedem and the sedentem.
Yes.
It's stupid. Okay, next point. That's his answer. It's ridiculous.
How nowadays the law of this country, the English law, the criminal law, is elevated to a sort of religion. There's a famous advert you see on some films which says something like, stealing is wrong. Why is stealing wrong? Because it's against the law.
That's right. Yeah, and that's exactly,
That's a very strong argument.
That's the Forrest Gump argument.
Yes.
Gump, why did you do that? Because you told me to, drill sergeant. Gump, you are a genius. You will make general. So that's what they teach him in the military. And never think. In fact, that's one reason why the American Marines, and not just American Marines, but any other forces like that, they encourage the soldiers to be immoral.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the immoral soldier obeys without question.
Yes, it's sometimes useful.
The moral soldier is dangerous. Right? The moral soldier will be very obedient. He'll never tell you, but he may not obey when you tell him to murder all the villagers. So that's why modern military and many militaries of the past did the same thing. Like I forget, there was some French general in whatever it was. I think it was the time of Napoleon. And before him, there was whoever the general was that died. He was a moral general, and this guy took over. And they raided a city and wherever it was. I think it was in France. And he said, "Tell the soldiers I'm sleeping for the next 45 minutes." So okay. The general is sleeping the next 45 minutes. And after 5 minutes, are they raping and looting yet? No, I just told them you're sleeping. Tell them again. Tell them the general is resting for the next 40. And he goes, "Oh, the general is resting for the next 45 minutes," and then they raped and looted everything. So then they understood what he meant. That way, if any complaint came later on, why were you raping and looting? I was out. I was resting. I didn't know what happened. So the soldiers respond to the general. They respond to him.
Yeah.
And they also do what's expected. That's why, for instance, in Bishop Fillet's betrayal of the SSPX, some are obeying orders. Others are not obeying orders. They're just doing what's expected. See? He didn't tell them to rape and loot. He just said, "I'm resting." And knew what to do. So likewise, lower superiors will crush priests under them without referring to Menzingen, because that's what's expected. And they know they're not going to get in trouble. But if they say something too bold against the council or something of this nature, they know they're going to get in trouble. Like one of my parishioners in Denver, I still see him. I talk to him, trying to convert him to the resistance. And one time he said, "I'm going to create an anti-resistance club in our parish." And I said, "Okay, con man, go ahead and do it." And he says, because it's true that Father McDonald, he's a conservative priest, hasn't been condemning the council and everything, but I'm going to tell him he's going to do it tomorrow. Just to show that we still can condemn the council, we still can speak like we did in the old days, and that'll prove you wrong. I said, "Okay, go tell him." And he did. And guess what happened? Nothing. He never did it. And I told him, I said, "Father's not going to do that. Because if he does, he won't be the pastor of Denver anymore." And he talked to Father. And he said, "Well, I could do it. Well, I'm not going to because it's not prudent. But it's not because I can't." You see, I could condemn the council, but I'm not going to because it's not prudent.
Father Thiemann has changed the meaning of the word prudence.
You see allowed it?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a beautiful word. In context.
Prudence just means obedience now, doesn't it?
Prudence, no. Prudence means, kind of.
Not doing what's right.
No, prudence means not obedience. Prudence is on the part of the superior. Prudence means the superior, who has the virtue of prudence, can do whatever the hell he wants, and it's the will of God. That's prudence. Affirmative. Affirmative action. You have affirmative action over here?
It's not called that, but we do, yeah.
Yes, which means, that the affirmative action shouldn't be white tea.
Careful, you'll get us all thrown out. There might be microphones in the ceiling.
So go ahead. So over here. But what do you see in your parishes up here? I mean, because everybody's. There's this great law of silence. Like you've been in the parish up here for a long time. Your parish?
I'm in Leicester, and it's not a real parish because it's the Society of St. Pius X, and it's very often Father Morgan because he's from there. And
they don't have mass all the time.
No, every week.
They do have mass every week.
Right.
Okay. How many faithful in that parish?
About 20 usually.
Okay. And how many years have you been there?
That's not an...
Well, 2 years.
2 years. You also the same parish? Different?
No.
I am.
You're the same parish. How many years have you been up there?
Parish is on Leicester. 4 or 5, I think.
Okay. And have you seen any differences between a few years ago and the grand silence of now? Do you see any changes?
I listen very carefully now.
Right.
I've noticed the new priests. They're very sort of wishy-washy.
Yes, there was one once, recently there was one, really, I don't remember his name, but he came only once and it was totally heretic, his speech. Father Morgan saw not, but once I noticed that a few months ago, there was a moment when he didn't even dare to tell things in his speech. There was one speech that didn't deal in any way with religion. It was about Russia, and it was all true, but it had nothing to do with religion. And but later he took a bit more confidence, and I've never heard him say anything.
So in other words, you can tell something that didn't exist 10 years ago in the society, or 15 years ago especially. A priest watching himself.
Maybe. And
controlling. And today is and you are all going to, there's a potluck after Mass. And so he doesn't finish the sentence. He realized, I better not say that. And you can see he's being careful, not trying to memorize the next point of the sermon, but being very careful to not go too far. You see?
He doesn't need to stop in a sentence. He's too clever.
Yes.
Cleverer than me, for instance.
But you can see he's going this way and then turns.
When you say
Maybe my
they're
husband could tell it better than me.
when you say they're wishy-washy, how do you mean? Or
Well, what I mean is they could probably didn't really show me no sort of notice.
yeah.
Maybe you can translate, Madam. Could you translate for Father?
You know, there's nothing.
What they mean by being wishy-washy, they could do the same sermon Novus Ordo Mass.
Yeah, yeah.
Shoot a what? They could do the
Nothing
same
that
sermon
Novus
Novus
Ordo
Mass.
priest would object
Same
to.
as the Novus Ordo Mass, same sermon.
Oh, Father Morgan, well,
Just one second, I'll just translate.
oh, sorry. We do very much.
So it's not that bad, but it could be this good, but nothing specifically traditional, nothing specifically Catholic, right? That's the point. But you were saying with Father Morgan?
Well, I've never heard him telling something obviously heretic, but sometimes he had very strong sermons where he was speaking about everything except Catholic things.
Yes, it happened a lot.
The priest at St. Joseph's.
Maybe you can translate for them.
Padres in San Jose in Londres.
They said a week or two ago. He said in the sermon.
It was, but no, he was saying things, but not Catholic things. That Father Morgan was preaching, but avoiding Catholic things, just talking about as if political, but political without a religious aspect.
Yes.
We would often talk politics in the past, followed by "you're all going to hell." There would be some religious
Some link.
yeah. But we would say political things without links.
He said the old mass is like a waterfall of grace, Niagara Falls of grace.
Then give her a chance to translate.
And the new mass is just a little trickle, a little stream of grace.
Yes,
Which means that's the only thing wrong with the Novus Ordo.